Hello. I was thinking yesterday, I was like, man, this might be a really dumb idea. Like, I was like, maybe I should just stop, but I think I want to try this for like a year. Like, I'll just upload every day, see how it goes. I doubt it's going to get anything crazy, but like, might as well. If you're wondering what that noise in the back is, it is my PC because I have a bad PC and it's just, you know. Yeah, I took a quick look today. The same site, NPR, obviously. No one watched the video, obviously, so it's not like someone told me to go to another site, but looks like a full day of news. One thing interesting I found that is looking back at the previous video on the short article I read while I was struggling to find a proper article. Apparently, what he did wasn't filibuster because it wasn't in protest for specific legislation, while the previous record holder, alleged previous record holder, because that guy is probably still the record holder technically. He was protesting the Civil Rights Act, apparently, and that is, I don't know, it's just very interesting, something to think about. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting facts that go into that I feel like you can research, look at. So yeah, today it looks like a lot more Trump shit. A lot of reactions to tariffs. So I think just seeing one of those, it's pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of them are just people crying, which is great. But we'll look at one. It is focused more on Trump's economists. It's by Jeff Go, April 3rd, published 2 hours ago. When President Trump announced his latest tariffs on Wednesday, he also ignited an economic mystery. Just where in the world did those numbers come from? Holding up a sign on the White House lawn, Trump pointed to a new 34% tax on imports from China. For the EU, a tax of 20%. Vietnam got 46%. India 26. India 26. I misread that. India 26. Nigeria just 15%. Trump claimed that these reciprocal tariffs reflect how other countries already tax American products. That means they do it to us and we do it to them, he said. Very simple. This is not true. There are no reciprocal tariffs. They do not correspond to the tariff rates in other countries. The truth behind where these tariffs came from is far more interesting. On Wednesday night, the administration revealed how they calculated the new tariffs, which are the highest taxes on foreign products that America has seen in generations. For a sense of that era, listen to, I'm not saying that, random thing. Buried in that math, finally, is a straightforward answer to a question that Trump has long refused to straightforwardly answer. How much will his tariffs raise prices? Diving deep into Trump's tariff math. So they have a formula here. It is, I think that's sigma t, I squared to the, not squared, but I to the sigma t power, whatever, equals xi minus mi all over. Damn, what the hell? I think this is as I took some of my business classes, I kind of noticed this. Like, I feel like they just don't need to put some of these symbols there. I mean, I get it, but it's like, yeah. You can look at it yourself though. That's why I cite the sources. I don't really know too much about this. I do, but not the top of my head. I didn't bother memorizing these symbols in my class. I'll probably have to deal with them in like a week too. But behind these Greek letters, there's a blunt but understandable approach. Essentially, the equation is trying to answer the question, how high should we set tariffs in order to get Americans to buy fewer foreign products and close the trade deficit? The math says, the more of a trade deficit the U.S. has with another country, the higher that tariff should be on that country's products. Excuse me. Take China, for instance. Last year, Americans imported about 439 billion of products from China, chiefly electronics, clothing, and machinery, while exporting only 144 billion. According to this formula, A 67% tax on those Chinese products should correct this trade imbalance. On Wednesday, Trump announced that the actual tariff would only be half of that, or 34%. Here's how Trump's math said it would work. The 67% tax should raise the prices of Chinese products in the United States, and those higher prices should discourage Americans from buying Chinese products or products that contain Chinese components. This is contrary to Trump's previous public statements where he has variously denied that tariffs would raise prices or has said that he couldn't care less. But according to Trump's math, I've been making a lot of mistakes. I'll try to fix that, but I don't know. It's just a weird. Anyway, according to Trump's math, the tariffs are supposed to raise prices because those higher prices are the driving force that will close the trade deficit. There are a couple major assumptions in Trump's math. The biggest assumption involves how much the tariffs would cause prices to go up. Here, the administration makes an eyebrow-raising admission. It guesses that for every 10% hike in tariffs, there will be a 2.5% increase in prices. Basically, it's saying that, because it has a little translation here, but I don't feel like that needs to be dumbed down, but it says that they think that a quarter of his tariffs will be passed on to American consumers in the form of higher prices, which is very interesting. Going back to China, the China example, here's how it would all play out. According to Trump's math, the 67% tariff on Chinese products would cause prices of those products to go up by 16.75%. By coincidence, the administration also assumes that for every 10% increase in the price of foreign products, there will be a 40% decrease in how much Americans buy. This, on the higher but reasonable end of what mainstream economists believe. Ooh, that was in parentheses, by the way. So faced with a 16.75 higher prices, Trump expects Americans to decrease their prices by 4 times that amount, which brings us back to the 67%. In other words, that was a lot of yap. In other words, a 67% tariff on Chinese products would reduce demand for Chinese products by also 67%. So if Americans are currently buying $439 billion worth of Chinese products each year, Trump's economics expect that the new tariffs will reduce the spending by $294 billion, which would close the trade deficit, in theory. Now it goes on to say what's wrong with Trump's math. Certainly, these new tariffs are not reciprocal tariffs, but the math behind them is not wholly invented or nonsensical. Despite what some online have claimed, in fact, for possibly the first time ever, the administration is explicitly acknowledging some of the basic economic logic of tariffs. Tariffs do raise prices, and higher prices do cause people to buy less stuff. And if Americans buy less foreign stuff, then Americans' trade deficit with other countries will narrow. That's not to say that any of Trump's tariffs calculations arrive at the right answer. For one, these are very rough, back-of-the-envelope calculations. As laid out, this formula treats every trading partner, every good, and every industry the same. Bananas, oil, clothing, computers, or cars. Doesn't matter what a country sends to the U.S. More importantly, the formula hinges on a big assumption about how much tariffs will raise prices. Trump's math assumes that only a quarter of tariffs would be passed on to American consumers in the form of higher prices, but economics have studied Trump's tariffs in 2018 on steel and aluminum and various products from China to calculate that almost all of those tariffs ended up being passed on to Americans. Aside from that, Trump's tariff math also ignores the broader economic consequences of these sweeping new tariffs. They will have an effect on the overall American economy. They will influence exchange rates, and they will likely provoke retaliatory tariffs from other countries. So will Trump's new tariffs actually close the trade deficit? Maybe, maybe not. But finally, at least, the administration has shown its work, and according to their calculations, raising prices and closing the trade deficit is what these tariffs are designed to do. Very interesting. Tariffs have always been a pretty big part of the Trump administration, so it's not ridiculous. I actually did a research paper. I mean, it was a small one. Like I said, I'm still an undergrad, so I wouldn't give it much of a oh my gosh, I know everything. But there's just so much cost that goes into a lot of this stuff, and I'm not a millionaire. I'm looking at at peak I'm making maybe $1 million, $2 million, if everything goes right. And to see this much money get thrown up, millions, billions, all the time, sometimes it just feels like it goes right over your head. I mean, I say you, me specifically, it feels like it goes right over my head because these heavyweights are throwing up millions and I'm scraping to survive off a few hundred, you know? Um, from the few economics classes I've had, I'd say tariffs aren't that easy to calculate, but they're experts in the field, so I assume they have run the numbers to the point where this is the conclusion they want to make. They've probably done a calculation for the possible variations of it, and obviously there's always going to be special variations, so you won't really know. But yeah, a bit of jargon there. Tariffs are always kind of a big thing, and they will continue to be. I mean, it's kind of been interlinked with the Trump administration, but it's kind of always been a big conversation in terms of how are we going to deal with this big tariff or what's going to happen. And I mean, especially, I didn't read this on video or anything, but there's currently something going on with the Chinese steel issues, which is going to be very interesting, and I suggest you look into that if you can. But yeah, so tariffs, real big. A lot of the other stuff I saw in here is just talking about Trump's, oh my God, he's doing this. There's a lot of stuff about, the attacks on like education potentially and other things where people feel like stuff needs to change. And I might look at some of that tomorrow. I think I'll stick to one or two articles a day and just talk out the rest of this because I like hearing myself talk. Like I said, I'm gonna say that like every video. I don't care. Yeah, it's just very interesting. Today, we look at the news. It's just a lot of. There was an election recently, so there's gonna be a lot on that. A lot of big political stuff. I do kind of want to talk about that though. What people see as political. This is gonna be kind of off the cuff. I'll definitely put this in the description. That the short stuff, like the kind of talk thing ended before, but I don't know. I feel like when people say political, they always kind of refer to this like stigma, and people talk about it all the time. Where like certain people will hear political or think about I don't like politics, and I have a friend who thinks exactly like that. They just decide that politics is this overarching thing that they don't want to think about, and so they just quit. That's a very bad habit, and I think being informed is very important. So if you can, you should be informed. Tariffs are always going to be a big thing. I mean, the trick that almost every president or political party uses when they look for, something to talk about their opponent or boost themselves is they'll look at stuff that's meant to happen, and then they'll point fingers. So we'll probably see this. I mean, obviously Trump won't be running for re-election unless there's some crazy thing happens. Cross our fingers, or some of us might want that. So I don't know. I prefer if we stick to the 2-term though. But there's going to be a lot of talk about this person supported the tariffs that cost us a lot of money and rose inflation, or this person was against Trump and they wanted to promote inflation, because that's just such a big thing right now is inflation, and everyone's looking for the man or woman who's going to fix the problem. And I mean, it's like, maybe I wish someone would sit down and tell people that it's not a type of problem that one president can fix. One president isn't going to just change everything. It's more than just one president. And I mean, a president can do a lot. The really good cabinet, and if you're a really liked president by the House and the Senate, then of course they can get a lot of shit done. But that's just not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, we look at the House, we look at the Senate, it's just a fight for who can take over, and yeah. I mean, inherently though, the two-party system is not, I don't think it's what America was meant to be. It's always kind of been a thing since like, what were they, the Whigs? But seeing it like take a turn to just like one-on-one, not the greatest thing ever, but I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't say this is a political commentary, at least I hope not. I just think it's very interesting, especially when you look at like history, like I mean, they make every kid who's graduating high school take some type of U.S. history, so it's not like people are completely ignorant. Like when I speak on stuff, I'm speaking based off my college. I mean, not well, limited college education and high school education, and I mean, I'm not speaking facts, but there are some logical deductions that you can just make. I mean, it's obvious that the way the two-party system works right now, it's not doing the best, and it's not just because of Trump. I feel like people really are looking for that scapegoat in Trump, that be all end all, that devil, that mark of the beast. This man is the man. We need to stop. But why would it end with Trump? That it's not about him. It's about the way things are currently run. And I can say this, and this is another issue I have, which I guess now it's just me having issues with stuff. But it's easy for me to talk like this and say, well, we have this problem and we have this problem. But it's like, what the fuck am I going to do about it, But I guess that's why you read, because that's all you can do is stay informed sometimes. And maybe, I hope that one day I can make a difference. And if not, if someone's listening to this, hopefully you can. And that's all. Yeah. Probably be back tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to be uploading the same time every day, but I'm going to try to stick to uploading around the same time every day, so within a few hours of now, between like noon and this time. But yeah, if you're listening, thank you for listening. If you're not listening, thank myself, I guess. I thought about it. I mean, I might still go with the 2, but I don't know. It's like I don't want this to run up too much time. Like, sure, if I feel like I might like want to start editing, like get that, I could easily turn my PC off and just not do like the noise. I just don't care. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Remember, stay informed. Don't believe what I say because I'm like a college undergrad. Well, obviously there's the article I'm reading from, but yeah, don't believe what I say, please. There's a lot of opinions out there. I think you should listen to them all. Not all of them. Some opinions are corrosive, but I think a lot of opinions are very interesting to listen to, including crazy ones. I mean, people want to close their ears and say, "Oh, I don't get it." But if you really think about shitty opinions, I feel like you'll become more informed on your own. So, be open-minded. Don't be closed-minded. There's a lot of bad people out there, but that doesn't mean that they don't have anything decent to say. I mean, you can learn from people and they can be the worst of people, like, in general. Yeah, anyway, that's about all. Have a good day.